Hi Damon, welcome to my video on my Assignment 3 Persistence and Messaging for IoT. So today I'll be going through a video that I took in class, which is a demonstration of my code and my device working, and yeah, I'll be doing a voice over it. So the purpose of this assignment is to create a device that is recording personal health data. So the device that I made is supposed to track triggers and impulses for drug addicts. For example, if an alcoholic is trying to recover from addiction, he can use this device to track down when he feels impulses or when he's taking alcohol again or when he has relapsed through a certain time frame. So onto the video. As you can see, I have the code running in the terminal over here, and it's connected to the MQTT broker. In this instance, the MQTT broker was just an extra to show that the data can be sent to the MQTT Hive broker as well. But in the actual code, which I'll explain later, is showing that the data is being sent straight to Influx and straight to MariaDB. So as you can see, every time I press the microbit, the button press goes up once, and as you can see on MQTT Hive, that it's going up incrementally as well. So now I'm going to show you the Grafana panel. So as you saw that I pressed the button 7 times, and this is my Grafana panel here. So this is a time series graph that I have for the drug addiction tracker, showing real time of when you pressed it, the live data when you pressed it, and how often you pressed it. And then this is showing basically how often you pressed it, 7 times as you saw in the terminal and in the MQTT, and it's red because it's in the warning zone, which I've set to past 5. As you can see on the terminal, it was 7 times. So in the green zone, it should be below 5, and anytime it goes past that, it should be turning red. And I'm going to press it more times, and I'm going to show you that the data is stored live. As you can see, 9 times. And yeah, so I have the max set as 10 on this, and you'll see why later in the video. Let me show you that the data is being stored in Influx. Selecting all from Influx table is showing you the real time, and it's showing you how many times it was pressed and when it was pressed. As you can see the time there, and yeah, it was pressed 9 times as shown in the terminal. Now to show MariaDB, so select all from table. This shows now the ID number, the patient name, which is Jerry Newman, the amount of times the button was pressed, and the real time of when the button was pressed. So as you can see, it was at 6:06, and the table also shows 6:06. So if I was to press it past 10, which was the limit, this message should show up. So the day limit has been reached and the counter is reset and the doctor has been informed. So if a patient has been pressing the button more than 10 times, meaning he's triggered more than 10 times throughout a certain time frame, the doctor will be informed, but the counter will be reset. So as you can see, the gauge is at max 10, and the time series graph is still recording. As I'll show you here that 10 has been recorded in Influx as well. And if I was to go past 10, the counter should start recording back from 1, 2, and 3, as you can see on the terminal there. And I'm going to show you that this restart or the reset of the counter has been recorded by MariaDB. As you can see, it's starting from 1, 2, 3, and the real time, as seen there, 6:07. And the same thing should be in Influx. As you can see, it's restarted from 1, 2, 3. So the tracker has been reset, and now it's starting from 3 again. As you can see, it's gone green because it's in the safe zone. So before I get into the video, I just want to show you where all this data is being stored. So I've typed in Influx, show databases, and I'll be using the TS Health, my student number database. And in this database, I'm going to be showing the measurements. Button is where all the values are being stored, and I'm going to select all from this measurement, and it's going to show you all the data over here. Same thing for MariaDB, so I've typed in sudo MariaDB, my username and password, and now I'm going to show databases, and these are the databases available. I'll be going into our health, my student number database. So I'm typing that in there, and now the database has changed, and I'm going to show that all the data collected within the time frame. So select all from IoT tables where the data is being stored, and this is the data. So in this section, I'll just be going through a little bit about the code and the major changes that I made. So this code was based off of the assignment 2 with Mick and Paula, where we had to make a device that when we press the button, the message would be sent to Hive MQTT, and it would receive back as well onto the terminal, and also the LED would turn on the microbit. So in this instance, as you can see here, this is the subscribing and sending to the Hive. Here this is also Hive MQTT data, which I had to use to subscribe to the broker, and this is the microbit MAC address. So the characteristics that I'll be using for this was mainly the button press here, which I'll show you in the code ahead. So this code here is basically the subscribing to the MQTT, and it will show on the terminal when it has subscribed. So here is the button counter. So when the button counter is divided by 2, because the button takes as an input and an output. So it's divided by 2, so it only takes one value into the data. So it's set to 11 as the max, as I mentioned before. So every time the button is pressed, there's a new date called datetime. So this data here is for MariaDB. My data logger, I'll explain later, is for influx. And so MariaDB is basically mentioned over here. So this is reference to the host, the username, and the database in MariaDB database. Prior to this, I had to make a table in MariaDB referencing which column is which and what's the name of the columns and what type of columns they are, like varchar, float, etc. So these are the columns here, and as you can see, these are fixed values. So Jerry Newman are fixed values, and these values will be changing over time. So you saw this was the time that would be changing in real time, and this was the button press. And this here calls the real time, and it's referenced over here. An error message will be displayed if this function does not work. And this part of the code here is a reference to the InfluxDB database. So anytime that button is pressed, my data logger will log that data into InfluxDB. And how it does that is referencing the database in InfluxDB and a series of measurements and fields here. So over here we have button as a measurement, and then it as a float. And then we have a button as a measurement and tag as pressed. And this time the field is mentioned as the button counter divided by 2 because input and output. And this will be referenced into the database in InfluxDB called TS Health, my student number. So these are the codes I wanted to highlight that allows us to press the button, track the data into both databases to be used to display later in Grafana. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in chapter 2.